Okay, so I believe that's it for trial prep. We got the jurors here. We have the prosecution and defense settled. Uh, if you believe you have any evidence, you need to submit that evidence to where you think it needs to go. If you got evidence against Taith, send it to Arctic or send it to Shoot Me. If you got evidence that you think will help the defense, send it to Nokia or to Graybird. So whatever you think you got. There are, well, I got some opening statements here. So the whole purpose of the court was I wanted to learn for myself why Taith was in so much trouble. And so I originally had asked Arctic, but then I realized, well, a trial would be a lot more fun and interesting, and I would actually probably would learn more that way. So I put this together, and it was very fun putting this together. I have assembled a court modeled after the United States judicial system. It is the adversarial system. We have the prosecution on one side, the defense on the other, and then all of this is happening in a neutral third-party court. I have selected for 5 jurors on a jury of 5. I believe the normal is usually like 9 or 12, but I've decided only for 5. It was kind of difficult trying to find people who were neutral because so many people have already made up their minds. And it's funny because this is a legitimate problem in real life too, with high profile cases, trying to find an unbiased jury. But I believe I've been pretty successful at it. For the defense, I made it a requirement that you had to be kind of, familiar with Taith on some level and could, of course, make it to trial. It was easiest to become a prosecutor because the only requirements to be a prosecutor was that you could make it on time, and that was it. And ironically enough, the jury filled up fastest, then the defense, and I had most trouble finding another prosecutor to help Arctic. So that was interesting. I understand that this court was formed Wednesday, 2 days ago, and events have happened since then. Taith, I believe, is not dead. They're not disbanded. People keep saying they are. Some official statements have been released that I think have made the situation worse. I do not think the role of the defense is envious, but I believe they're here and they will put up a good job. So that all being said, I will list out the rules, and I believe I will let the prosecution give opening statements. There is a room right above the chat called information. It contains the time of this event, the court lineup, rules, and the list of formal charges against Taith, and I will read the rules and the charges. So the rules are as such. All 5 jurors must vote either guilty or not guilty. If all 5 can't come to the same decision, it will result in a mistrial. Hearsay is not evidence. All claims must be backed up with screenshots or first-hearing testimony. All evidence the prosecution intends to use must be turned over to the defense, that is discovery. This is very normal in criminal proceedings. The list of the charges against Taith, there are 7 of them. Count 1 of espionage, count 2 false statements, count 3 money laundering, count 4 investments frauds, count 5 poaching, count 6 insider trading, and count 7 market manipulation. So that is the situation. And now, without further ado, I give the floor to the prosecution to make opening remarks. I am awaiting someone from the prosecution to speak up. There are two of you. He is speaking. He is typing. Okay. I believe Arctic is yeah, Arctic is typing a text to speech thing. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. My apologies. Arctic does not want his voice to be recorded. It's okay, sexual defender. It's being recorded. You will be able to hear everything as long as Zig can. I am reminded of, and I'll stop speaking when I hear Arctic. I am reminded of how many courts, like county courts, went online through Zoom because of COVID, and how you have all of these boomers trying to work this complicated technology, and how many just really funny incidents have approached out of it.
I found a court case that was on Twitch a little while ago.
In which, explain, Nokia.
I was scrolling through Twitch looking for EU4 streams, because I'm an EU4 streamer. Or, God.
Arctic said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in late February Arctic left the Taith Alliance claiming fraud and other charges. We intend to prove the defense, Taith Group,
I did not hear
guilty
you,
of all
Bird,
charges.
you were trying to speak. I don't even see that Arctic is typing now. So
I can read it out for the recording if you'd like.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, redo it. I'll
Would
be
you like it
quiet.
read out? All right, Arctic asked me to read it. Give me a minute. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in late February, Arctic left the Taith Alliance claiming fraud and other charges. We intend to prove the defense, Taith Group, guilty of all charges listed forward. We intend that the evidence will show that Taith's activities perfectly deceived many, both small-time investors and billionaires. As such, the plaintiff asks you, the jury, to vote in favor of a verdict of guilty for all 7 charges. This must be used to set an example for all future attempts of such activities and to stop fraud and related activities on Orbis.
And I want to give one more piece of instruction to the jury, and then I will let the defense counsel speak. I ask the jury to base their decision of guilty or not guilty on the evidence presented today and no other outside factors. Pretend as if you know nothing about Taith, which I believe some of you already know nothing about Taith. With that being said, okay, defense counsel, do you have any opening remarks?
So is now the time I start talking about the evidence that was presented to me, or nah?
We can get into that, but I mean, do you have any opening remarks, or you just want to continue forward?
I'd like to present the case of most of the evidence given actually is subjective, has almost
Arctic
no context,
said, objection, Your Honor,
and is relatively
argumentative.
unreliable.
Okay, Arctic has said objection. Can argue in openings. I will let it stand. That's fine. Do you have anything else to say, Nokia?
Nope, that's more of a statement than anything else.
All right. Okay, prosecutors, you may present some evidence for count 1 here. I believe it's espionage. What you got to say here?
Arctic said, Your Honor, I would like to enter an exhibit to the records.
Of course, Arctic, you may enter an exhibit. Post it in evidence. Actually, no. Post it in chat. The cameras are pointed at chat. Some logs being posted here. Is this the only image of the logs, Arctic? Because if so, I think I will ask Shoot Me to read them or summarize them.
Could you give me a minute to read through the image?
Yes. Shoot Me is currently doing that. Arctic says, oh, my bad. One more thing. Okay, Arctic. Arctic is getting something here. Okay, and these logs feature Greybeard and Borg. Okay, Arctic, are you prepared for us to go over these two logs you have posted? I think they should be read through and or summarized real quick.
All right, so if Arctic's ready, I'm ready. All right, so what I've summarized from the first image is that Green claims that he focuses more on the corporate and investing side of Taith, showing that he could possibly not care or give care for what investors receive or the consequences of his actions towards investors, and that a few Taith employees could have possibly been attempting to join a different alliance to shelter themselves and the money that they take or could possibly lose in raids from the raiders or the shareholders attempting to receive their money back.
Gotcha. Okay. And what of the second screenshot here?
It mostly looks like they are admitting to spying
Arctic
on
said
quack
alright, so
alliances.
poaching and espionage will be packaged as one for simplicity. Tomcat attempted to be poached by Taith Group.
Gotcha.
Furthermore,
okay.
they themselves admitted to spy on Quack.
And so I understand the argument here. This first screenshot with tons of words between Green and Tomoya is about Green's position in this bank would have allowed him to see money coming in and out.
Ask Arctic to elaborate.
Yeah. I didn't fully follow what was significant about the first screenshot here. I don't have a gavel. How does it sound if I bang my countertop? How's that coming through?
Not very loud, but I get the gist.
Kind of like you're hitting a chair.
Gotcha.
Like a camp chair.
Just beat the mic. It's a flimsy mic. I don't think that would work.
Flick it.
Just blow into it.
How's this?
Works.
I just scream. I've already screamed once. That was before the show. I don't know about doing that one again. So Arctic, I'm sorry to make you guys make the prosecution repeat itself, but I would like an explanation on the first set of logs and their significance to the espionage charge. You are fully correct, Mr. C. I apologize for the silence. Okay, Arctic says he claimed that he was attempted to be poached by Taith Group. He claims that in that ticket, Green also tried to get him to spray on tests. The screenshot was fortunately taken, however. Okay, well, if that screenshot was not taken and cannot be presented, then the information therein is irrelevant. That was very fitting. I appreciate that.
Excuse me.
So I just want you to understand. Just because I'm stupid and have trouble following does not mean that it's true for everyone else. Does the jury understand what Arctic is trying to get across thus far? I think that would be good. Lane Sider and Judas both says yes. Okay, that's good enough for me. Does the prosecution rest their case? Well, not rest their case, but are you done presenting your case for charge 1? Because now I need to let the defense state their defense here. We do, yes. Okay, Arctic, thank you. Okay, defense team, what is your rebuttal to these claims and these screenshots here?
From the opening screenshot, the reference to being stuck in an airliner and potentially addressing an alliance that would be fitting is hardly a poach. There's no evidence that you have suggesting they actively pursued poaching him. There's merely a recommendation and someone stating that they're dissatisfied with where they're at. Towards the second one, that looks like a public channel, and what kind of logical individual would remotely admit to trying to spy on anyone in a public channel? I have a hard time believing this is an evil corporation they would do something so childish.
Arctic, I would ask that you post the 2 screenshots you have used in the evidence room, so they may be easily looked upon because they're getting buried in the chat there. Graybird, do you have anything you wish to add on to what Nokia has said?
Miscontent of corn is a great crim. In Irish, the word crim means fox, you know.
Okay. It's a great fox. All right. So I have, okay, Graybird is typing. I'll see what he has to say. Because I'm just curious to know if Graybird's no comment. Okay. I'm trying to determine what's fair if because I forget what the proper thing to do is. If I let Arctic and Shoot Me argue against what Nokia just said, or if I just continue on from now. I believe the correct course of action would be to just continue. Yeah, cross. It would be a cross, and that doesn't exist. Correct. All right. So I believe that's it. I believe that's it then for the espionage charge. Is there anything else side they wish to bring up? If only because it is so brief. 2 screenshots and like a few sentence rebuttal. I just want to make sure that both sides have brought out everything so far. Several people are typing. Doesn't matter, Arctic, unless it's a recording or a screenshot or logs. It doesn't matter. I wish to respond to Prod's statement of how much Legal Eagle did all of you watch to understand the proceedings. I do not like Legal Eagle. The two YouTubers I watch is Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law and Steve Lato of Lato's Law. I strongly recommend both of them. All right. So, I believe that's it for charge 1. I think the proper thing to do would be to wait till we went through all of them before the jury gave a verdict. So we're going to move on to charge 2, which is false statements. So same as before, prosecution, please bring forth your evidence here. Nick Rekieta did not represent Vic Mignogna. He brought a lot of awareness to Vic's case, but he did not represent Vic. That is a very common misconception. Nick has nothing to do with Vic's case. Arctic has said, I'll be getting my DMs from M'Baku. M'Baku is a high up and swing and runs a bank. As such, I look to him as an expert. Is this approved? Has these statements been passed on to the defense? Then yes, you may.
I do not remember receiving any statements from M'Baku. Not to mention, I think a business rival is hardly the most logical choice to go into the situation at all.
Okay, well, Arctic, I request that you turn these over to the defense before first. Yes, go ahead and turn over to the defense. Arctic, how come you said yes to turning it over, but they're saying no? Someone is confused somewhere.
The last DM I received from Arctic was something about M'Baku being a witness, then no further context given. I got the literal words saying, we have M'Baku, and that was it.
I've told him M'Baku would be a witness. Okay, and that's fair. Then you should get M'Baku here. He's here? Okay, then Arctic, you do not need to turn over any screenshots. We can just interview M'Baku then. That's fine. Okay. Yes, you may unmute him. I don't know what his name is. I don't know. People are like, M'Baku's here, but I don't see an M'Baku. Is he not in voice chat?
I think they might be messing with you. He's not in the server.
As Arctic stated, he's getting screenshots from his DMs that he never presented to the defense, meaning it's evidence that no party has but him, supposedly. M'Baku is not also in the server, so M'Baku cannot actually be a witness because he can't give any testament while not here.
I am inclined to agree. I wanted all evidence turned over to the defense, and if that has been done, then I cannot in good conscience allow it to be presented. Nokia, people are also asking you to speak louder. Can you turn up your volume? You can. What can you do, Arctic? What can you do? Post a screenshot. Did you? Did you? Okay. Send it to Nokia, and if Nokia saw it, then you can turn it over. But if Nokia didn't see it, I don't want to present it because it wasn't turned over in Discovery.
I have not saw it, and if you want, we could always have a second court case tomorrow.
I want this resolved tonight. Given the scope, it would be more appropriate if I just declared a mistrial right now and scheduled another trial like next week or something, or tomorrow. But I would much prefer to settle this tonight, to be honest. Yes, Arctic, send the screenshots to the defense, and if they've seen it, and I will take them at their work, you can submit it and we can discuss it. But if they have not seen it, then I don't want it brought up.
Do I at least get time to examine it?
Yes. I am in favor of that zig. I think it would make sense to delay count 2 and to come back and to circle around back to it later. So I think we should shelve count 2 because of this mishandling of the evidence. What does the prosecution and defense think? Are we fine with just continuing? The prosecution seems to agree. I want to see what the defense has to say.
My apologies, I was trying to read it. What's going on?
Is the defense in favor of returning to count 2 later and moving on to count 3?
I would like time to actually be able to read this. I'm kind of a slow reader, so we can come back to it later.
Okay, so we will simply return to count 2 and we will move on to count 3. So count 3 is money laundering. So once again, I pass over to the prosecution. Submit your evidence here, and let's discuss it.
No, Mr. C. Thalmore's not a robot.
Okay, as long as Nokia was shown evidence, Greybird, it's fine. And I'm pretty sure all the witnesses were submitted beforehand. I will take Nokia and Greybird at their word. Was MJ approved as a witness? I believe he was.
MJ. Who's MJ? The only person I was told was going to be a witness in my DMs was M'Baku.
Oh, I believe Arctic means the real Michael Jordan.
Arctic, I was never DM'd that. You have screenshots which include them, as well as forum posts. Is that what you're referring to?
Arctic has said, just reply to quote in DMs where I said it. I'm going to pour me a drink here.
All right. Is Tom Cat also here then?
Well, besides the witness, do you have any screenshots or logs to supply in regards to count 3? Okay, let's start there. What screenshots and logs do you have regarding count 3? Okay, you get on that Arctic. Thank you. I attempted to reply to the Republic of Osmary, who asked, "So, when does the trial start?" And I meant to type trial has been going on for 30 minutes, but my phone auto-corrected it to trial has been going on for 30 moms. So that was really nice.
Wolf. Are they 30 Thalmor moms or just one mom?
I think 30 non-Thalmor moms.
Let's see. Can I get a
But how
recount?
many mothers do you really have?
Yes, see,
I
that's the
have
important question.
all the mothers.
Oh, geez, I've been played.
Okay, Arctic has posted the screenshot in court chat. Yes, and I seek an explanation from the prosecution on what we're seeing in the screenshot. All right. Shoot me. Do you have something? It appears to me as if Arctic being unable to voice chat is hindering proceedings quite a bit. Shoot me. Can you contribute any insight to what this screenshot is regarding count 3?
I'm sorry. Could I read it?
Yes, you may, but make it quick.
Would you like me to read the entire screenshot?
Can you be sure to read the forum post screenshots as well?
If that's all right.
Yes, but make it quick here. Is there a problem in the prosecution with not having the evidence put together? I am willing to grant a recess for perhaps 15 to 30 minutes, maybe even 45, to allow the prosecution to get their act together here, because we've been hung up on this for 15 minutes now, trying to get evidence here, and this is a little bit ridiculous.
Arctic has posted evidence in the court chat.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, summarize what is the significance of this information to count 3.
All right, so as per point 1, according to MJ, they received an investment of $3 billion. This $3 billion was, however, not given in cash, but rather an investment account. This would thus have allowed the defense to not necessarily give $3 billion if they do not have the money. Furthermore, I have logs that prove that money from Greyland were used for Taith Group. Greyland money, according to Rob himself, in a private chat used money from Greyland to fund Taith, according to the bottom screenshot.
Okay, and these logs appear short enough. I wish to read them out loud so I can understand what's being said here. Rob says, "This answers my primary concern in part. I don't want us being the victim of a Greenland type screen." Green says, "That was my issue as well. Also, it kind of concerns me that he was so fluid in his request." Rob replies, "I'm also not sure that emptying out our bank is a sensible idea, at least not for one person. That said, I would appreciate feedback from all staff." Green says this concern is now mute. Sid made a nice sized payment. I'm fine approving the 1 billion from an invoice standpoint. As for input, Joe says talked to him last time. Okay, so that's enough of that. Yes, Shifty. Green and Greenland are the same person. I am not sure why Green is referring to himself under a different name. Okay, so is there any further information the prosecution wishes to contribute to count 3, or may the defense reply? Okay, Nokia and Greybird, what's your response to these logs?
All right, I wish to go to the forum post number 1 for my first little tidbit. So MJ over here says Taith didn't really invest the raws. They proposed an investment account, meaning that he had to accept the investment account that was proposed. So any liability that comes from that decision lays solely on the business founder for actually accepting the deal that was presented to them. Now, nextly, on the same first section of the post, it says, yeah, no, Greeny wouldn't approve that. It wouldn't make sense if I approached him with it. Meaning whatever the situation that he was referring to, he didn't even choose to approach Greeny for, so it's actually his fault for choosing not to approach entirely. If you go to the third post, Sid actually says right here that, one second, I got offered TGIF shares when I sold my shares in Sparebank and old Taith related banks. But later on, I sold the TIF shares as well. Now, this is crucial because earlier it specifically stated that MJ was certain that they would not accept the sale of shares, yet Sid managed to sell his. MJ wasn't willing to ask for his shares to be sold. Sid was, and it turns out Sid actually managed to sell his. So what was stopping MJ from doing the same thing if he actually gave it a shot?
Jury, and answer please in court chat. Are you guys, the past 20 minutes has been a bit wild. Are you guys following everything okay? Do you have, well, maybe not having, are you guys doing all right, basically? Jane has replied, yes. Jaden says, can Nokia talk about the Greenland screenshot?
Which one? Is it the one where Sid's being approved for $1 billion loan?
Jane posted a copy of it in court chat. It's the one where Green refers to himself under his other name.
The answer to my primary concern, I don't want to be blah blah blah, but the Greenland type scheme, and several years ago is what they're referring to when Greeny actually paid with real life money to buy several in-game currency, which would result into the real world transaction rule being made in politics and war, in case anyone's unaware of the background. Anyways, as it kind of concerns me as is fluid in his request and yada yada, I'm not sure that a sensible idea, at least not for one person, that I said would appreciate feedback from all the blah blah blah. This concern is now mute. Sid made a nice sized payment. I'm fine with approving the 1 billion from an inventory standpoint and your input. I see nothing wrong here besides the fact that they are financing somebody with a loan that someone has approached several banks for.
Arctic has stated that the last 3 messages are the ones which count. Can you specifically address the last 3 messages, Nokia?
I'm concerned that he's approached several banks for quite a sizable loan. Greeny pulled a similar trick and brought down the majority of banks a few years back. The bank trick helped finance Taith LOL. So anything a few years ago should be null and void in a present day standpoint, especially when Greeny was banned a few years ago and had to get unbanned. I fail to see how 5-year-old information is relevant in today's age. Am I still held by the same standards I was in House Stark in 2017? I don't think so. Not only am I like 7 years older.
Well, and I also believe this court is more interested in the most recent of Taith's actions and not events from years in the past.
Alex banned Greenie after several real-life purchases several years back. That means most of that money is not only gone, but has been essentially thrown into the abyss that Alex throws everything banned in.
I'm sorry, but is a crime not a crime no matter how old it is? What or who says that just
Actually,
because
all
time
crimes
passed that is now
expire.
irrelevant?
That's actually relevant. All crimes expire. A 17-year-old makes a crime that's actually sealed off by the time they're 18. Not to mention, if you actually refuse to pay a loan, the company is unable to sue you past a 3-year standpoint.
So what you're telling me is that if I murdered somebody today, the second I turned 18, I would no longer be liable to those charges?
What I'm saying is, for one, you can't render a financial crime to a murder crime. And
But that
for
wasn't the
two-
question. The
and
question
for
was a
two,
crime and not
logically, the
relevant, no matter how old it is.
comparing murder to a financial crime, especially when I just stated the law surrounding such, is an attempt at manipulating the general audience.
If you cannot answer the question, then I believe
I
that the
have,
evidence
you're just
that Arctic is
parroting.
providing is still relevant.
It's not. A crime evidently does expire. As previously stated, financial crimes, except for a big example, defaulted loans in real life expire after 3 years. This occurred 5 years ago. From a real life standpoint, from a legal obligation, it is technically an expired crime.
I'm
Not to
sorry, but
mention, it is
you asked
irrelevant.
us to provide evidence for our claims, but could you provide evidence for the claim you have just made?
I am going to interject here for two reasons. Number one, I don't think this conversation is going to go anywhere. But number two, I want clarification on something. How far back are we going into Taith's history here? I am under the impression, perhaps very erroneously, that this is more like stuff that happened in the past several months. Whereas I hear as if we're going back years. Can the prosecution answer how far back are we going here in investigating Taith?
The situation regarding the Taith loan, actually, if I may, it's back when Greenie was banned and the real world transaction rule was made. So technically, he already had lost a considerable amount due to his actions in that time frame. To include a nation reset.
Arctic has responded to me. He says this happened about 2 to 3 years back. Rob, second in command of Taith Tower, said that this money helped finance Taith, which means the current assumed fraud was financed with this money. Okay, gotcha.
Courts are not based on assumption, it's based on factual evidence.
Graber said 4 to 5 years. I believe the scope of this court is what actions has taken in the past 6 months, maybe a year at most, to harm others that have gone unaccounted for. And so if you're going back multiple years, I do not think that is relevant, and I am going to ask that anything regarding that not be in consideration. So with that decision being made, where do we stand on count 3? Has everyone pretty much rest their case? Is there any other points you guys wish to go over? If all I'm going to hear is silence, then I'm ready to move on to count 4 here. Arctic says I rest my case. Defense team, where do you guys stand right now?
As far as I'm concerned, someone should not be banned or punished for something they were already banned or punished for. That's double jeopardy, which is actually a unjust and federal crime.
Okay, so I think we're done with count 3. Jury, do you have any questions regarding count 3? Now is the time to ask. I would ask that you ask in court chat. And I agree with James. I ask members of the jury, please refrain from speaking their opinions as things are progressing. I do not see the jury asking any questions, so I'm going to assume the jury are satisfied, and we will now move on to count 4, I believe. So count 4 is investments fraud. So I asked the prosecution, submit your evidence here for investment fraud, and we will discuss it. Arctic posts some logs, and he says 1 second. Very good. Much stronger opening here, Arctic. I appreciate it. Shoot me. Can you explain what these 2 screenshots are about?
I'm sorry, could you give me a moment?
Yes. Shoot me, if I may ask, how much prep time did you have for this trial? I understand you came on late, but
Well, I received a particular amount of minutes of prep from Arctic directly, and I can assure you there was indeed a 0 in that number.
okay, so would it be accurate to say that you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants here?
Arctic is kind of the captain of this boat, and I'm like tied to the back on a life preserver.
Okay. Discovery has been made available. I would recommend that you skim through it throughout the rest of the proceedings so you have a bearing of what's going on when it comes time to discuss counts 5 through 7 and when we go back to count 2. Arctic says, now those screenshots to the Drej head of TOW states the investigation is made regarding count 4. They later view it as factual, Arctic says. As for point 2 of post 1, those show Taith stock reports. Okay, so Arctic here is wanting us to go to the forums, look at some stuff. Very well. Arctic then says when you add up the non-Taith stocks, you end up with a number of about 5 billion.
I'm sorry, which charge was M'Baku asked to be a witness for?
I believe it was charge 2.
Well, it has come to my attention that he has appeared out of thin air.
Great. Okay. So good. So is he in voice chat?
Yes.
Okay, M'Baku, we're on charge 4. We skipped charge 2. We will be returning to charge 2 momentarily. I'm going to say you probably need to stick around for about 30-45 minutes before we get to you. We're on charge 4 right now, Arctic. I do not want M'Baku unmuted just yet. Let's finish. Tell you what, we'll finish charge 4, then we'll go back. I think that is a good solution. I have given myself rope burn. My finger now hurts. Arctic says this means that unlike the 20 billion or so Taith claims to invest in BCM alone, it's possible that Taith only used 5 billion of that money. Okay, so is this all the evidence the prosecution wishes to bring forth with charge 4? Can everyone hear me?
I can.
Okay, is the prosecution done with all their evidence for charge 4?
Arctic says yes.
Okay. Defense counsel, what is your rebuttal?
Is this the thing we just talked about?
Arctic has laid his evidence for charge 4, and I believe that he's explained his rationale behind it.
I don't see it.
It's in court chat, I believe. Were you not paying attention for the past 5-10 minutes?
If it's the same thing occurring to the double jeopardy stuff, I was having a conversation in the other chat. I forget that he can't speak.
Yeah.
I don't think count 3 holds much charge, blah blah blah. Jury members, please don't comment on blah blah blah. My bad, blah blah blah. So this is about shares basically be converted into one share, yes?
That is for Arctic to answer, I believe.
So the way corporate shares work in real life is every share that exists still technically is a valuation included into a company's overall assets. Furthermore, any two businesses that merge both have speculative value, insurance value, not to mention to include their net worth is the valuations of all shares merged together.
Arctic has replied, so does that mean if I make a bank worth 1 trillion, my net worth is 1 trillion?
Well, the real question is, how do you know how much money Taith had? You are in no position of upper management. And do you know what's in those two offshores without ever being in them to see them for money for yourself, nor any actual records of such?
I believe Arctic said he will share some information in court chat. Yeah, okay, he's posting some more stuff right now.
Graybird says, Arctic claim of only 5 billion invested is rooted in his assumption that we didn't put money into buying shares as an investment for BCM. Which is factual, because if they were to actually use pre-existing cash to buy other shares, that would mean the cash would actually not be on hand.
So Arctic posted some more logs here, and he is saying, all right, so this proves that Taith only has 2 offshores. Arrow 404 had only about 700 million when I left. So either Taith keeps all other 50 billion in one place, or they have only a few billion there. I myself saw the bank logs of Taith.
According to Greybeard, 404 isn't an offshore, it's a distribution center. Which means rather than being an offshore, it's used to move money. Not to mention, most banks will keep all finances in one place. For example, most alliances will keep their money, if they want to, in YAR. And it makes no sense for TAFE to have their money essentially in Swing when Swing is a rival. It is obvious that Taith does claim to have invested in Swing assets and or their stock exchange. And Rothschild is also a rival. Indeed, Rothschild is funded strictly by TCW and its attending sphere members. You cannot check Alliance bank logs, Lenny. That is false. Furthermore,
sure, Arctic, you can object.
Do you have any evidence that is an offshore?
How are we defining what an offshore is?
That as well. If Lenny has a screenshot that was not presented to me, that is an unfair disclosure of evidence that was not given pre-case.
I agree. Yeah, Lenny can bring anything, but it can't be.
Just because someone literally offers something as a free offshore, MJ, does not mean it is an offshore, nor is it used as the main offshore.
Can some where is it shown that it was offered as an offshore?
I could market my retirement home as an offshore. It doesn't make it one.
And obviously, I would ask the jury not to take into consideration anything not presented by the prosecution or the defense.
I wish to point out that a guide on how they offshore doesn't actually do anything. It has zero display of assets, zero display of money stored, zero display of who agreed to what, nor is it a moderate display of how much they actually have somewhere.
Well, let's assume for a minute Air 404 is an offshore or whatever. How do we get back to that's investment fraud exactly? Maybe I missed something, but how do you connect those two dots? You only had 700 million? Well, okay.
If they had 700 million in one place, what's to say if you know where the other money is? Furthermore, you claim they have negative money, but you presented no clause proving they have negative money only where you know where a chunk of the money is, which has already been claimed by Taith employees to be a distribution center, and you have nothing to go against that either.
Greybird, who has been quiet, has said Taith isn't where we generally store our money. We move money to the 404 offshore when we want to further move it around. Greybird here did refer to 404 as an offshore. We move money to the 404 offshore when we wanted further to move it around.
I'm not entitled to trust anything Borg says, Lenny, nor is this presented before the case, so it is actually irrelevant.
Lenny, I am going to ask you to stop posting screenshots in the chat.
It doesn't matter what Borg owns. Borg is not Taith. He does not control Taith. Greybird has explicitly mentioned that offshore is used as a moving, not an actual offshore used to store anything.
Okay, so I, I have an awkward position because on one hand I don't want to stop conversations, but on the other, like if I see something just going in circles, I want to stop it because we have to keep moving here. And I think the threshold has been reached where I think the conversation needs to be stopped. But I will balance it out by once again going to the jury and asking them, Mr. Jury people, are you guys following along okay? Do you have any questions? How are you guys doing? Because you five are the only ones that really matter here. Lane Cinder says, I mean, I clearly understand what the side is presenting so far. Jane says, I'm following along. Judas is typing. Who are the other two? Avatar and Ninja. They haven't said anything in a while. Okay, Ninja's typing now. Okay. Real time, don't worry. Okay, thank you, Ninja. Yeah, I understand Avatar. All right, I think we're ready to finally go back to count 2 because M'Baku is here. And so I think we need to go over this. Unmute M'Baku. Hold on. No, give me a minute. Was M'Baku presented as a witness to the defense counsel? Yep, he's in the list here, posted at 209. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead here and let M'Baku be interviewed. So unmute M'Baku and let's talk with him here. You there, bud?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I believe the prosecution. I believe I know it's Arctic and Shoot Me, and I believe they will be talking to you because they're the prosecution.
Okay.
So, Arctic, what do you got to say to M'Baku here?
How far up am I scrolling for these exhibits and evidence?
They should be right in evidence chat.
I'm not seeing anything with my avatar on it.
I believe he didn't want to post the screenshots because he was going to rely on your testimony alone.
If I may,
He's posted them in chat.
this evidence was presented in my DMs as screenshots about over an hour ago. I haven't got the chance to read it.
I don't believe we're at fault for that.
It is actually, due to the fact it was failed to present post-trial and was already brought up to Thalmor, who said I would be able to read it before it was presented.
And it was indeed presented, was it not?
Yeah. So the main argument that I make here is that you can generally calculate a bank's working capital by the profit they post every month. And most banks, Blum, the Foundation, Ace and Spades, we generally average somewhere between 8 and 12% of profit per month. And usually about 30% of that will go back to the shareholders as dividends. And the BCMB shares posted a profit of, I want to say, 300 and something million. And the profit for 25% of that was to go to the shareholders as per their charter, which came out to like 81 million, and Green bumped it up to 100 million for a share dividend of 50 cents per share. And so generally what a lot of banks target is around 3% a month for a dividend. Bank Lumiere does much better than that. I want to say I'm not sure what the foundation posted, but their latest profit on the month was about 8%. What I calculated, my profit for Ace and Spades was about 9%, and so we're kind of generally between that 8 and 12% margin. And if you calculate 300 million, anywhere near 8 to 12%, you get a valuation of roughly 3.3 billion, and that's what I would calculate as working capital. That means that's how much they have out in loans, and we know that Green took out a $5 billion loan from BCMB, so that part shouldn't even count as the working capital. So the valuation is actually much lower. And if you take a share value, if the profit is 3%, so that would make the share value roughly $17 or $18. If you use that calculation, if you want to calculate share value by dividends, you would use, it would basically come out to about $17 a share. And those shares, BCMB shares, sold for $150 less than a month ago. So where is the rest of the money?
If I may, if Greeny took out $5 billion in debt, how is it that if he's paying interest on money that he himself borrowed, is that not included in the valuation? If you're calculating earnings, he's still paying money to this, even if he took it.
Well, if he didn't have to take it, all he has to do is say, I took out $5 billion, and then pay whatever portion of profit that is into the account every week to show that, right? So if I took $5 billion at 1% over 10 weeks, and then what is that, 5 million or something a week, you'd only have to pay that, or 50 million, you'd only have to pay that 50 million a week in order for you to be clear on the books. Because the rest of that money, where is it going? It's going out to Green and then right back into the bank. There's no proof that that money was issued. If you can show me
if there's no proof that it was issued, then how are you able to make a judgment based on it?
I'm not making a judgment based on that. I'm making a judgment based on the profit. The profit posted for BCMB was 300 million. My $5 billion bank posted profits of 480 million. The $6 billion Bank Lumiere posted profits of 640 million. So how does a bank with the valuation of BCMB, which is supposedly what, 30 million or 30 billion? How are they posting that small a profit? Either they're the worst bank in efficiency, or they're just not worth that much.
Let's see, to read what Graybird had posted. Profits are killed because of large media hate of the time Greeny's stupid decision to lower interest rates, which means lower interest rates means lower profit. If they say they loans. So earlier, I actually took a loan from Greeny. In case you're unaware, I only had to pay $1 million a week for $1 billion. With that being as it is, that is probably the single-handedly lowest interest rate as a City 20 I can get in any section of the game.
That sounds just like an irresponsible loan, though, right? When will you pay back $1 billion loan at 1 million per week? You will never do it.
It's called term. There's a time frame which you're supposed to turn in the rest of the money. Now, the reasoning that I never turned in the rest of the money is due to an economic situation regarding TCM, as well as Taith, that was not related to this, so is in turn not going to be brought up. However, In this particular situation, if you have a deadline for which the rest of the money is supposed to be forked over, say if it was 8 weeks, that's 8 million per 1 billion. Well, actually, I don't actually know. Is it like 10 million? I don't fucking know. Anyways, the point is like you have a certain amount of weeks you have to pay for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of those phases, you have to turn all the money back in. Who knows what rate Greeny gave himself? What rate he gave other people?
Well,
You
the
aren't
rate
there
that
in
he gave
management. You
was-
can't judge their low earnings based on
You can,
essentially poor.
because Green made his books public. He posted, "Here are the loans," and they had ledger numbers next to them, and it said, "Here are the profits we will gain from those loans." And not all those profits had been realized, but the profits were there, laid out in those screenshots. And I don't have them saved because Toast purged the BCMB channel, but they were very public. And so going on, I mean, I know Jiraj is saying the Green books are fake, but even if we go on Green's numbers, the books that he posted based on that ledger, the amount of profit that BCMB was posting per month, there's no way they're valued at 30 billion. So like I said, either they are awful at putting that $30 billion to work, or they're just not worth that much.
You are aware there's reserved assets, correct? For a
And
bank to
reserved
then
assets produce
so if they have 30 billion, right?
Yeah.
They could do a number of things with this. For one, they can keep a reserve stockpile, which means if anything happens, they have 10 billion, 20 billion in a storage place. They have 10 billion loaned out and the 20 billion to back it up in case anything's to actually happen. That's a process for not only countries, but it's also a process for most businesses to cover their asses in case of, for example, COVID. AMC had around $500 million saved up as a movie theater chain in case anything was to happen that would put movie theaters out of business temporarily.
The problem that we've always had is that Taith has always failed to prove the book value that they're saying, and they've never proved that they have that 30 billion assets. And all the evidence we have to go off, like how much profit a company produces per month, does not add up to that valuation.
But you're imagining that they're loaning the entire 30 billion out.
I'm imagining that if they loaned out loans that brought in 300 million in profit, they loaned out approximately $3 billion. So
And what's wrong with loaning out 3 billion?
That means 27 billion was unused. So that's what I'm saying. That perhaps they're worth 30 billion. They've never proven it. They've never shown that type of book value to anybody.
Here, I got something for you. Here's a picture of my nation's income. That's 21 million and some odd change. Per week, I make over 147 million. So Greeny's Alliance is essentially also a business. And from what I've heard from their employees or their management is a lot of the people who are running this are actually 100 taxed. So if I'm making over 147 a week, and so are they, I'm VM'd, Duragil, I can't. Anyways, so if I'm making over 147 million a week, he's a city 30 something, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He has as high or higher infra than me, easily, because I'm a city 20. And most city 30s or pluses have around 3,000 to 4,000 infra. The amount of money that they would theoretically generate per a week ranges from the 300 millions to the 400 millions, easily to the 500 million. The substantial amount of money he can actually generate and pack into a bank at the same time has to be taken into consideration.
That's all theoretical. Like we
at
all
the same time, you're
money
imagining. You said he could have loaned 3 billion out. How do you know how much money?
The math shows that it's probably about 3 billion based on the profit that he's bringing in. Because all his banks tend to operate around the same. We tend to issue loans somewhere between 1% and 5% profit weekly.
Right. So what if he gives, per se, a loan on an incredibly low rate, like a 1 billion loan with a 1 million interest? Like my case. That means he's only making like 8 mil.
on a 1 billion, and that's why I say it's an irresponsible and inefficient way to produce profit, and almost every other bank is
So, but
using their working capital better.
the thing earlier, you said he loaned $5 billion out, and he only made $300 million in profit. If you make special loans, keep in mind this is a game; it's not a legitimate business. So, in this game, if he was to loan any kind of special loan to a friend or an acquaintance, then it's probably at a lower rate, which means lower rate of return. Then he would have the actual business loans that he would also loan out, which could easily resort to a multi-billion low profit margin. Just because your bank has a loan at one interest rate doesn't mean his bank has to have a loan at the same interest rate. Businesses are operated differently. No matter how poorly you argue it's ran, it can have $30 billion. TCM invested an average of $300 million a week with the alliance income of $900 million weekly. We put $300 million in investments, and we stored the remaining hundreds of millions in our offshore and never touched it. Besides, when we needed resources, which means in this particular case, we have multi-billions in savings with only a few billion at work.
Yeah, I can see all of those points, but when investors are investing into a business, they're looking for return on that investment.
And arguably, regardless, 300 million of growth is still 300 million of growth.
Relative to Bank Lumiere, relative to the foundation, relative to Agile, relative to Ace and Spades, the amount of profit per dollar that BCMB produced and made public is maybe 1/10 of every other bank that's listed on Toast right now.
But how are you to judge them being manipulative or lying by stating how much they made? In the end, their earnings is their earnings. Like, it doesn't change that it's earnings. If they have multi-billions in savings, keep in mind,
it's disingenuous to charge $150.
Taith gets attacked semi-regularly. Taith gets attacked semi-regularly by raiders. Every time they get attacked, they lose upwards of 5 to 8 billion. Now, they have to have money on hand to repair per every war, or to choose if they want to buy a war chest to fight. In the end of the day, there's still an alliance, not just a business. So failure to notice how someone needs a stockpile is failure to notice how they need to sometimes repair themselves.
I mean,
not having billions spent is billions in savings spent on repairs or necessities down the line that may arise out of occasion, not of certainty.
Can we get just a temperature check on how many investors give a shit about how they're doing with their alliance and how they're spending their money? The companies are here to make money for their investors. They sold those shares at $150 a unit, and the amount of profit that they got for those $150 was 50 cents a share for that month. That's an atrocious rate of return.
The rate of return is not always the same from every business. If I get an AMC share from a movie theater chain, it's a 12% return. If I get a percentile share of a return from Coca-Cola, it's 0.54. These are both billion-dollar franchises here. I fail to see the issue. Per the business is per the rate you get back from your initial investment. You acknowledge your investment may have varying returns based on making an investment.
Yes.
You acknowledge your investment may have varying returns based on the investment. You cannot say all companies have a same exact rate. You cannot apply the same knowledge to every single company. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. You can say inherent, it should be this much. It doesn't change. Their income is their income. Their rate of return is their rate of return. You cannot judge their company by your company. That is false, illogical, and
Can I respond to this? Yeah, he's just rambling.
I'm sorry, but has this not turned into an argument? Is there like... Is there?
He's just
I'd like to ask. I'd like to ask Thelmore personally. is there no point where you should step in and ask
And moderate.
the two discussing to calm down a little?
Yeah, I was doing so. I let them go on for so long because I thought I was being pretty productive, but I think it's drifting away from that.
So
Here's what I'm going. Here's what I'm going to do.
closing arguments.
Yeah, for charge 2 here, that's about where I'm at. Does the jury have any questions concerning charge 2 that we need to
And
get
can
out
we
of the way?
repeat charge 2?
False
statements.
Yeah, false statements. Yeah. All of that, all of these numbers, 1 million a week, 3%, 8%, 69%, false statements.
Is it my turn?
Who asked if it was their turn?
M'Baku.
I actually, M'Baku, I think you're done for now. I think we're wrapping up the discussion. I want to thank you for coming on, not just because I'm grateful for the witnesses, but you did a really good job. I really enjoyed listening to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Lynn Sander asks, so just to be sure, no key was arguing that whatever wasn't being given out was being sat on, correct?
What I was necessarily arguing is a company's rate of return varies per the company, same as the interest rates. Trying to say how much your company makes does not apply to another company because both companies could have different policies pertaining to how money is used.
All right, so I think that's enough. We're going to move on to charge 5 now. M'Baku, thank you. M'Baku can be muted again, and of course he's free to leave if he doesn't want to stick around. This one, surely to God, this one will be straightforward. Count 5, poaching. Okay, prosecution, you know what to do. Show the evidence. Charge 5, refer back to the contact condos, post them again. They've been buried in other logs in recent chats. Okay. Anything the prosecution wants to add on before I let the defense respond to this? Arctic is typing. Tomcat himself pretty much said that he was asked by Green to either leave or work as a spy. Okay, defense team, what's your response? Seems very straightforward here.
Get him. Someone's pretty much said that he was asked by Green to either leave or work as a spy. Let's see. I understand I wasn't really looking to join a new alliance, more catch up, but whatever will boost this stagnating growth. Oh, good, in that case, feel free to stay put and then just let us know if you need a parachute and we'll arrange one. I've gotten used to people wanting something from me. Hazards of running a multi-billion-dollar company. I'd rather not stay in a Malaysian airline, though. I don't really know of any of the relationships, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they offered him to go to various places if he wanted to leave. I don't really see that as a poach. Like, he stated how he was uncomfortable somewhere, and they offered him various places to go and stay. For one, Greybird's not a representative of Atlantean Council. He's a former government member who could have most likely pointed them in that direction, not based on poaching, but based on being like, that's a relatively okay community.
Graybird is saying he told us, quote, "Anywhere you think I should go, I am sick of my current AA," end quote. So Graybird here is providing some additional context to the conversation. Graybird then says he had stated his dislike of his AA and that he was looking for another one. Arctic says, "Fair, however, Tomcat has been called a spy for him by Graybird himself. According to Graybird, gotta show this, Arctic." Graybird says Green has known this person for years, since before politics and war.
Granny runs a gaming community, if I remember correctly, with the old DeWitt members from like a couple years ago. Somewhere if you remember their existence or not. They had a lot of drama with Mince HQ.
Yeah, Arctic, I want to see this proof. Okay, I will give you a couple minutes to dig it up, and then we'll move on to count 6. Well, then forget it. I want to wrap this up sooner than later. So, and I agree. I think it is hearsay, and like I said, all evidence needs to be submitted to the defense, and if it's not submitted, well, we're going to move on to. Oh, Lancer was asked a question. What is it, Lancer?
May we present the ticket logs to the court then?
Thamor. Was this submitted to the defense beforehand, Arctic? Well, it's all right. Once again, jury, you have to ignore the screenshot Arctic has posted. Discovery doesn't go for the prosecution. The prosecution are the only party that has to turn over discovery. I do not believe that the defense has to, unless I'm just stupid. But to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the defense has to turn over discovery. All right. So we should we should have done a kangaroo court much better. All right. So I think that's it for that count. Let's move on to count 6, insider trading. And you know the deal, Arctic. What's your evidence for count 6? Uh, Dirash is posting a bunch of images in the chat that has to be ignored. Okay, Arctic here has posted some logs, not logs, some screenshots. Arctic, all right, so here's Tate's private portfolio. This is an original screenshot from Green himself. That's why there's a green arrow on there. Arctic's doing some more typing. BCM supposedly has investments of 44 billion. The portal, however, states the amount is 30 billion. This means that the money went somewhere. So regarding this, it could be possible that, as what Dirash was saying, it could be used for some sort of shady deals like this. I'll get the Taith portal link. People fucking making websites for all of this shit, man. Crazy. It's not enough that we have politics and war and the forums and the test server and the wiki. We gotta make like and stat websites like CT owned. We gotta make like bank shares bullshit.
It is the fancy thing to do.
Yeah.
You should just make your own website, Thelmar.
So I want to. I think there's some controversy over this, and I'm going to address it. Dirash posted some screenshots that he seems to believe are compelling against Taith. And I instructed it has to be ignored because random people cannot throw around evidence and it be taken seriously. Evidence has to be turned over to the defense. That's how it is. The prosecution can't throw evidence around. Everything has to be submitted to the defense team. That's discovery. That's normal. And so any screenshots presented besides that, it just has to be ignored. That's just how it is. And I mean, honestly, if you have a problem with it, tough shit. This trial was announced 48 hours ago. The prosecution could have gathered this information. People could have surrendered this information to the prosecution. It's too late to throw it away. To throw it around now, basically. There is a witness list, I think, somewhere. I think it's in evidence towards the top, towards the beginning. Okay, Greybird has responded to Arctic in court chat. Most of BCM's starting value came from the sale of shares. Value of the companies that merged into it also account for some of the value. 53C was 20 billion. Whatever the other bank was, OCU or something, was 10 plus billion, or more than 10 million. Arctic says that still doesn't explain BCM's supposed 44 billion investments. Greybird says it should read, quote, didn't come from share sales, quote. Arctic says, Tate's rather. Nokia, you got anything to add to all this? You've been quiet.
I'm not actually very knowledgeable about the website that's been presented. If it's like a display of every asset they have, or if it's a display of a certain amount of assets they have. For example, TAFE isn't 53C. Like, it's not. So anything 53C has is a section of what TAFE has, not the entirety of its money. Not to mention, I don't have a login for this.
Shoot me, do you have any comments?
No, I do not.
Technically, Arctic, in actual corporate talk, shares are sold to essentially present cash to a business. So that would actually be considered a form of profit. So yes, that is, shares do equal profit and part of the overall value at the same time. Investing is liability. If you ever get a broker account in real life when you're 18, you'll notice how every single broker account actually states that investment is for fun, not for actual profit. The same thing actually applies to gambling at a casino, because both of them are actually covered under the same category of laws. Investments are considered risk, not actual profit guarantee. It may be a video game bank, but I don't control how people run their companies. For example, Bank of Evil has me paying a actual loan, like valuation of how they charge it in real life, while most other banks in this game will use a thing called simple interest, which charges you a set amount regardless of how much of the loan is actually left.
It seems as if the conversation is stalling on this topic. Landslide wants to ask a question. I will let him ask a question. And then I think it's time to move on to the final count. So Landslider, go ahead, get your question out. It will be answered, and then we'll move on to the next count. I am quiet because Landsider's asking a number of questions to Greybird. And I think it's a very good question. I think most people know what's going on, but in case you don't, there's a separate discussion happening in a chat called Court Chat, which is right above the main chat, and that's where some discussion's happening. Arctic says also for the private portfolio, this evidence could apply to count 3. All right. Landsider asks, but where does the additional 14 billion come from? Someone's breathing into their mic. I think it might be you, Nokia.
Oops, my bad.
It's fine.
I just want to say, well, it's sort of relevant to any money that TAFE could have lost. In the economic war of TAFE, we are the reasoning they lost around $4 to $5 billion in the first place. Myself personally taking 2.7.
Understated, Lane Sander. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'll let Greybeard respond, and then we'll move on to the final count, and then go into deliberations, and then reach a verdict, and then we'll probably go home. I'm ready for bed. I'm gonna make me. I don't know. I think I'm gonna make me a burger. I'm gonna microwave some French fries, then have some Cheez-Its, and then I think that'll be it for me for today. I'm tired. I've been going to bed like 9 o'clock lately, and it's midnight now, so I'm about ready here myself. Cake. I should. I meant to go do a cupcake run today, but I just was feeling lazy and I didn't. So I'm gonna have to leave tomorrow because they close early on Saturday. So I'm gonna have to leave early to go get some to do me over for the weekend because they're closed on Mondays.
I'm sorry, did you say you were cooking burgers and you did not bother to invite everybody who came here for this wonderful court case today? That is very rude of you.
I am a horrible person.
That is so rude. I'm personally, for myself and for everyone here, appalled.
You should stay away from me.
I don't know, man. I kind of want burgers.
They are good burgers.
I'm gonna need evidence of this.
So, okay, I get them from the Dollar General. They're ballpark flame grilled beef with cheese and bacon patty. I put that on. I get some. What's the brand here? It's Kraft Singles American cheese squares. I set that between these ballpark burger buns, and I microwave it. And sometimes I'll slap on some microwavable bacon in it. Um, Sometimes not. And then I'll sprinkle some Swainson Ultra Himalayan salt. And that's a good little meal. It's probably very unhealthy, but it's good.
You said they came from the dollar store, but did they actually cost $1?
The ballpark burgers, it's like fucking $6 for 6 of them.
Can we get a
One
happy
pack of 6
So,
patties. They're
if
good
it's-
though. They're good though.
If they are not $1 as per stated by the name of the store, would that not fall under count 2 of false statements?
The Dollar General is not on trial right now.
My bad.
Unless the Dollar General is a subsidiary of Taith, in which case there may be some overlap.
You'd have to consult Arctic for evidence on this.
Hey, Balmore, can we get a happy birthday for Sleeping Ninja, I guess?
Yeah, happy birthday. Oh, is he going? Oh no. We need to wrap up this fucking trial. Okay, next charge. Next charge. What's number 7?
If
I don't know what number 7.
Can I just end with one statement that's quick?
Yeah, sure.
A business's initial valuation they give can change based on losses they incur. Now, the thing that most people were very surprised about when I was TAFE defense is I actually stole a crap ton of money from them because my alliance was having a war with them, essentially who could make the most money, and one of our ways of making money was stealing money.
Okay, gotcha. So market manipulation, Arctic, post your evidence. We got to wrap through the evidence. Defense has to give statements. Jury needs to go deliberate for 5-10 minutes. Then they need to deliver the verdict. Then we can all go to bed and go eat and do whatever, because it's Friday night.
Katana, I fail to see how this hurts my argument. Admitting my terrible character doesn't actually affect them at all. That affects me. I mean, it's a company. All companies have an expense. That's normal.
Would you say my non-existent company has expenses?
Shoot me, you bought a bank that literally was named Dead in Latin for a bunch of money, and
No,
it
no,
never
no.
had business.
I named it Dead in Latin. I do not know what you were talking about. This is false. This falls under category 2, false information.
Arctic is talking to
No,
Durish.
I'm not arguing it's a confident business. I'm arguing whether or not they committed fraud on their initial evaluation. And if after their initial evaluation they lost a sum of money, that's their fault.
Order! Okay, Arctic has pinged me and has said Durej has more shite, but I did not present it to defense. To make it quick for everyone, I'll be reusing this. Pretty much something with this one, through with this one. Potential shareholders would be misled by manipulating numbers. One example of this is seen with the example from Count 6. Okay. Oh, this is the image Durash was talking about earlier. Okay. All right, Nokia, what do you guys say about this one? Or Graybird? Probably Graybird, because Nokia, I think you said you don't follow this website nerd shit, and I don't blame you. It seems like a lot of nerd shit.
I didn't know it existed till today.
Well, it was presented to you in Discovery, right?
I found it. It was actually hidden in a forum post under the what's it called? The little thing that like hides the post. The spoiler post.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, well that counts. It was presented then.
Yeah, I just didn't notice because the spoiler.
Graybird is typing, everyone who is eager to leave, just hang in there. Hang in there with your 2 little paws. We're almost done. Zig, I am going to ask you to create a new text room in the category called Jury Room. And I want you to set the permissions so that only the members of the jury can read it. And of course, all of the, well, basically, yeah, just the members of the jury. Can you do that for me real quick?
Can we make a waiting room VC?
Nah.
Not gonna lie, I was prepared to wait.
I want the jury to return a verdict within like minutes. Like by the time 12:30 rolls around, we're all gone. That's when I want this done. Thank you, Zig. Graybird's response was, we invest in our companies, yes. I fail to see the market manipulation in owning a portion of your own company. Arctic says, unfortunately, Duras evidence, which I got just recently and was not able to present, was not presented, so I understand, but it is still misleading. Graybird says, how so? Arctic says, because numbers are off. Lamau, as Lysander himself said.
Well, the difference is you guys are trying to argue their initial valuation they put forward. Now, someone's initial valuation is how much money and assets they have at a given point. So past that given point, things could have changed. That's, I think, what you guys are failing. You're trying to act like they could never lose money from the months ago that they said this original statement. I think post them joining the exchange is when the economic war started. So anything after the exchange is when they lost all their money to TCM. Or anything post that is when they lost their money to Mythic beating the crap out of them. At the same time, you have to be considerate of the fact they made that statement months ago. Things can change.
All right. Zig, thank you for your help tonight, bud. I really appreciate it. Fucking dog bark noise.
If the screenshot stating that they have a 30 billion is no more than a week or so old, their initial valuation at their stock exchange was a few months ago. So this could be an updated amount of assets compared to previous amount of assets. Arctic, the stock exchange statement you're trying to get them for is months old. Whether or not information was updated as time goes on is irrelevant. You are saying that the initial statement is fraud. I don't know what the stock market's saying, but they're probably memeing Taith due to the fact they're a little angry at them right now.
I'm going to give you guys 5 more minutes to discuss this. At 12:10, I'm going to have the jury. I'm going to give them 10 minutes to deliberate on all 7 charges. And then at sometime between 12:20 and 12:30, the verdict will be read. I'm probably going to speak a little, and then we're gone.
Nacho, I'm not arguing that he should be punished for the same thing. Hold on a second. Oh my god. Rip. The thing from long ago has already been made public. Any evidence presented is just old evidence redistributed. Not to mention the thing that's presented from 5 years ago is not Taith related, is Duat or Cobalt related, an entirely different organization. Anything carried over from those organizations or the individuals post-ban is whatever was on their nations when they were reverse banned. I've been up since fucking like 9 a.m. yesterday. Isn't it like 1 a.m. for you, Thalmor?
It's 12:07. But it will probably be 1 a.m. by the time I finally lay down. Are you guys done discussing Count 7? Hello? Alright.
No, I have indeed left.
Just saying any double jeopardy claim could only be made if Alex was banning again? Well, I was considering it more as a last time, in case you don't know Duat history or Cobalt history, whatever. I don't actually remember how many years ago, which one it was actually that got hit horribly. But basically what happened is the gaming community as a whole of PW, like all the players were pounding the crap out of them, and they used real world transactions to try to continue to fuel that war. So technically, Nacho, this is the player base judging them a second time for something they've already been judged for. But this time it's unrelated because players from many years ago, like they've already got the revenge. Like his previous alliance was literally buried for this. Alex just came in post his community dying and banned him afterwards. I don't actually know what Thalmor was doing 5 years ago in politics anymore.
5 years ago would have been March of 2016. I was, funny enough, I was probably in Colbot under Green. He was my leader.
Oh. What happened after that?
It was getting raided by ARG, and all of our allies, everyone disliked us, including our own allies. So I jumped ship to Terminus S.
I see. So when was KT made?
February 1st, 2017.
Hot.
I was in Terminus S. I think I joined March, April of 2016. I was in Terminus S until, let's see, Papers, Please happened. Papers, Please ended. SK attacked us. That was the SK test war, and then that was in January, and we bailed. Me and my Splinter members, we bailed in late January. We sat in Pantheon's applicants for a couple days, and then February 1st rolled around, and hey, at noontime, back when alliances costed a credit, I spent the credit. First member of KT, been there ever since.
Cool. I mean, it's definitely a good community. I had a lot of fun when I was there for like 2 weeks.
I agree, Greybird. The jury is deliberating right now. I am frustrated because 2 members of the jury are not here, but that's okay. Zig, can you unmute Lanezender real quick? Lysander, the jury
Come
guy.
on. Can't James give it?
Oh, he can only do text to speech. James is not here, unfortunately. Fuck it. I'll read it off. I don't care.
I miss James's sexy voice from New Jersey.
Yeah, I really wanted him to read it off too, but that's all right. He's still in fucking text chat there. No, voice chat.
Yeah, he's listening, theoretically, but he does that sometimes where he's just AFK. And then usually what I do is I play the Thalmor radio, and then when he wakes up, he can listen to your voice again.
The person that was in the room with me listening to this fell asleep about an hour ago.
It's okay. My roommates were trying to talk to me in the middle of this. Now they're both asleep, so I have no idea what they were wanting.
Well, personally, I had to kick the person in my room out because he would not get off my goddamn bed.
I mean, I think my roommate's amazing because they come from a community that like despises traditional. But
Happens.
we're really good friends too. So it's funny. But I don't know. I've been getting along better with people who didn't like me because living situations.
Guys, I'm stupid. Lysander is a jury member. Avatar is jury. Sleeping Ninja is jury. James is who's the fifth guy that I'm forgetting? It's Jaden. Jane is the fifth guy. And I remembered it a couple minutes ago because Jaden and James both start with a J and they're both AFK.
Do we have at least 3 of the 5?
Yes, the other 3, and they're almost done.
I mean, it's still an odd number, so I guess it serves a point.
Okay, well, okay, the jury is done. I just want to make sure of something here. All right. The jury has finished deliberating, and all 3 of them that are still around, which is Sleeping Ninja, Lysander, and Avatar, have returned a verdict. Jurors Jaden and James are gone. They are presumed dead. Rest in peace.
Rip.
And now it's time to read the verdicts,
Arctic
which I
said
will
all
do.
rise for the
Well, they're
judge.
both TI too.
So
Poor-
all rise. I will slam my fucking open palm on the countertop.
I stood up for you. There you go.
I can't stand up. I can't reach my keyboard if I do that.
I agree, Michael Jordan. I believe that's what's happened. Verdict. Fucking. Gotta get the list of charges up. Not there. There it is. All right. So, count 1, espionage. The jury of the High Court of Thalmoria has found the defendant Taith guilty on the count of espionage. On count 2, false statements, the jury has returned a verdict of guilty. On count 3, on the charge of money laundering, the jury has returned a verdict of guilty. On count 4, investments fraud, the jury has returned a verdict of guilty. On count 5, poaching, the jury has returned a verdict of not guilty. On count 6, insider trading, the jury has returned a verdict of guilty. And on count 7, market manipulation, the jury has returned a verdict of guilty. So for those who weren't paying the closest attention, the jury has found Taith guilty on all charges except for count 5, poaching. So there you go. Justice has been done. It is hard to punish Taith because Scam is already attacking them and they seem to already be dying. So there's that.
I just want to say thank God we don't have to see another poaching war anytime soon.
I want to say a few things personally and then it's over. First off, I wanted to say, actually, I'm not going to say anything about Taith or Green or anything. Just, where there's smoke, there's fire. If you're going to be involved in so many controversies for so long, like something's wrong. Something's going on. You can have 1 or 2 issues and be innocent, but if it's time after time, like. And I'm going to give some personal advice. Now, I haven't spoken to Green in a long time. I would consider myself friendly to Green. But, like, keep your distance from him. he's one of only 2 people in this game I would consider a sociopath, and I'm not even sure if the other one is even playing anymore. I he will use you. I don't think he's necessarily a bad person. The other sociopath in this game, I think, is a bad person. I don't think Green is. I think it's just a side effect of who he is. I don't think he's like malicious, but it's like a force of nature with him.
I think it's
Keep your distance for your own safety, is what I would say.
It's a political gang, and I think that whose form of politics is to use others.
The people are asking who the other one is. The other one is Cynic. I think Cynic is like he hasn't killed anyone, and I don't want to use the word lightly, but like Cynic is probably like evil, to be honest. The things I've heard about him.
Are you sure he has not killed anybody?
I'm pretty sure he hasn't killed anyone. I think Cynic is gone. He's had a couple different nations over the years. I think he quit years ago. He's an old guy. But anyways, I want to talk about the trial real quick, and then I'm gone. I DM'd Zig halfway through. I was pretty fucking convinced Taith was going to get acquitted here. I was pretty, and I would be okay with that because that would cause a shitstorm, and shitstorms are funny to me. But I was pretty convinced that, like, God bless you, shoot me in Arctic, but I was pretty convinced you guys had flubbed completely, and that the jury would be like, well, fuck this. I think Nokia and Gray made the best out of a bad situation. I think we did fine. I liked M'Baku. He was a good witness. He was an expert witness, not just a witness.
I just want to say that in terms of who was here, like in the jury, it wasn't a bad jury, but there's a few businessmen here, so I kind of saw this one coming.
Yeah.
I would also like to say that through personal experience, which is literally right now, Arctic is not a good person to be on a prosecuting team with, because I assure you that he will not give you any information on who you are prosecuting whatsoever, as he did with me.
I don't know if that's fair, because like this was very short notice, you know.
I would call it fair.
Hey, at least you're not a judge trying to appoint somebody in the middle of your pre-show to this show. Damn it, Dalmor. I was like, Avigor defense team, what? Nani?
I was actually surprised that the jury returned 6 guilties. I thought they would maybe find guilty on half, but no, they yeah. All right, so this was fun. This was fucked up in a lot of ways. There were a lot of problems tonight, but I had fun with it, and I actually would like to do this again sometime. I'm going to keep this category up because I might reuse it for something.
I got DMs from M'Baku telling me, "Congrats, you steamrolled me at the end," and I was like, "I don't know, this is a compliment and like an insult."
So next time there's some great controversy about an alliance, be it rule violations, you know, some kind of spicy leaks. Like, if you guys want, come to me and be like, these bitches need a trial, and I will put something together. Because this is fun, and I want to do it again. And because we've already had this trial run, it will be even better next time. What is it, Nokia?
Zig says prosecute me, so I guess I'm next.
Commit some grain fuck up, and then we can look into it. But right now, I think you're fine, Nokia.
Oh, I defaulted? No. That was an economic war. The Alliance cleared all investments and debts for me. There's a difference. That was the Alliance's doing, clearly.
Wow.
Sounds like we need a trial to actually decide whether or not that's true or whether or not that was a lie.
Well,
But how
can
let's
we-
find
time.
another judge. This one's resigning.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good night. See you later. See you next Friday.
Oh,
9 p.m. EST, Thumber Radio. Good night.
And I did.
all right.
Good night.